back to the movie pit, boils and ghouls. Dr. Ghoulyula here with a review of the innovative horror flick Final Destination, a film that changed how we view death itself and made us all fucking paranoid about everyday objects. Today we're diving deep into this deliciously morbid masterpiece that took the horror genre and turned it on its decapitated head. Who needs a guy in a mask with a knife when the ultimate killer is the invisible hand of fate itself? Did you know this little gem of terror originally started as a goddamn X-Files script, before evolving into one of the most influential horror franchises of the 2000s? Talk about a graduation, from Mulder and Scully to a full-blown cinematic phenomenon that had us all checking our seatbelts twice and eyeing that loose screw in the ceiling fan with absolute dread. So buckle up, motherfuckers. We're about to take off on flight 180, and I promise you, this is one review that won't crash and burn. Unlike, well, you know. Final Destination follows high school student Alex Browning, played with pitch-perfect paranoia by Devon Sawa, who boards a plane to Paris with his classmates for a school trip. Just before takeoff, Alex experiences a horrifically vivid premonition of the plane exploding in midair, killing everyone on board. Naturally, he freaks the fuck out, causing a commotion that gets him and several others kicked off the flight. Minutes later, his nightmare becomes reality when the plane actually explodes, exactly as he foresaw. Instead of gratitude from his surviving classmates, Alex becomes a pariah, suspected of somehow causing the disaster. But the real mindfuck comes when death, pissed off at being cheated, starts hunting down the survivors one by one in the exact order they would have died on the plane. What unfolds is a brilliant cat-and-mouse game where death becomes the ultimate invisible slasher villain. There's no mass killer to outrun or outsmart, just an unseen force orchestrating increasingly elaborate and fucked up accidents. The film transforms into this morbidly fascinating countdown as we watch each character try to decipher death's design before they become its next victim. The genius of Final Destination isn't wondering if these characters will die. It's how they'll die. Every loose wire, leaking toilet, or sharp kitchen knife becomes a potential instrument of doom. The tension builds as seemingly innocuous objects align in deadly Rube Goldberg sequences that are equal parts terrifying and darkly hilarious. One minute you're watching someone make a sandwich. The next they're impaled through the goddamn throat by a kitchen knife after a meticulously orchestrated series of coincidences. Unlike most horror movies where you're rooting for someone to survive, here you find yourself in the macabre position of wondering just how creatively each character will meet their demise. Will they be hit by a bus, decapitated by flying debris, strangled by a clothesline? The anticipation is half the fun, and all of the horror. What makes this film particularly fascinating is its origins. It was originally a goddamn X-Files spec script. No joke. Jeffrey Reddick wrote the initial concept after reading a newspaper article about a woman who switched flights because her mother had a bad feeling, only to have the original plane crash. Talk about a fucking seed of inspiration that bloomed into something spectacular. The journey from TV concept to feature film is absolutely wild. Reddick initially crafted this story as a way to get a television agent, but a colleague at New Line Cinema convinced him to develop it into a full-length movie instead. Thank fuck they did, because what we got was something far more expansive and influential than a one-off Mulder and Scully investigation. When James Wong and Glenn Morgan, veteran X-Files writers themselves, got their hands on the script, they transformed it into something truly special. They embraced the concept of an invisible antagonist. No mass killer, no monster in the closet, just death itself as this omnipresent, relentless motherfucker that won't be denied. Wong's directorial debut showed remarkable restraint and vision. Instead of creating a typical slasher, he crafted something far more cerebral. As he put it, we wanted to make the world at large, in the service of death, our antagonist. That philosophical approach elevated what could have been a cheap teen horror flick into something that genuinely makes you consider your own mortality while shitting your pants. The development team made the brilliant decision to skew the entire visual aesthetic after the plane crash, subtly warping sets, washing out colors, and creating an unsettling atmosphere that audiences couldn't quite put their finger on. It's this attention to detail and commitment to the concept that transformed a humble spec script into the launching pad for one of horror's most innovative franchises. The cast of Final Destination deserves serious fucking praise for elevating material that could have been disposable teen horror schlock into something genuinely affecting. Devon Sawa absolutely kills it as Alex Browning, bringing a vulnerability and intensity that makes his character's descent into paranoia both believable and sympathetic. He doesn't play Alex as some superhero. He's just a regular kid thrust into this insane situation. And Sawa nails that deer-in-headlights terror while still giving us someone to root for. Ali Larter's Clear Rivers could have been just another pretty face in the crowd, but she brings a surprising complexity to the role. There's a wounded quality to Clear that makes her initial isolation and eventual connection with Alex feel earned rather than forced. Larter gives us glimpses of the pain beneath Clear's tough exterior without ever resorting to melodrama. Kerr Smith deserves major props for making Carter Horton more than just a one-note jock asshole. His transformation from skeptical bully to terrified believer happens gradually and convincingly. When he finally loses his shit after realizing death is coming for them all, it hits harder because we've seen his facade of control slowly crumble. And how can you not love Sean William Scott as Billy Hitchcock? He brings such perfect awkward energy to every scene, providing necessary comic relief without undermining the horror. His motor-mouth nervousness feels like a totally natural response to the situation. Who wouldn't babble uncontrollably when facing these circumstances? The entire ensemble sells the progression from eye-rolling disbelief to absolute fucking terror with remarkable conviction. Tony Todd's brief appearance as the Mortician Bloodworth is a masterclass in making every second of screen time count. That deep voice delivering those ominous warnings still gives me chills. What's most impressive is how each actor portrays their character's unique way of processing the same horrific realization. Some retreated to denial, others lash out in anger, but all of them convey that growing dread as death's design becomes clear. By the time they're jumping at shadows and eyeing every household object with suspicion, we completely buy into their collective psychological breakdown, because the performances have laid such solid groundwork. James Wong's direction in Final Destination is a masterclass in building tension from everyday objects. What makes this film so fucking brilliant is how it turns mundane items into weapons of mass destruction. A leaky toilet, a loose screw, a frayed wire. These aren't just background props, they're death's little helpers waiting to strike. The genius of Wong's approach lies in how he lingers on these innocuous items just long enough to plant the seed of dread in your mind. That cup of vodka isn't just a drink, it's a potential conductor for electricity. That shower curtain isn't just for privacy, it's a potential noose. By the halfway point of the film, you're eyeing every goddamn object in your house with suspicion. Wong implements what production designer John Willock called the skewed sets technique to create a subtly unsettling atmosphere. Nothing in the post-premonition world appears quite right. The angles are slightly off, the colors muted, the perspectives forced. You can't immediately put your finger on why everything feels wrong, but your subconscious picks up on it, creating a constant state of unease. The pacing is impeccable too. Wong knows exactly when to play with our expectations, stretching out sequences to an almost unbearable degree. Take Ms. Loden's kitchen death scene, a masterpiece of misdirection where we think we know what's coming, but the path there keeps shifting. The slow tracking shots of everyday kitchen items becoming gradually more threatening is pure cinematic tension building. What's most impressive is how Wong balances these elaborate death sequences with quiet character moments. He never loses sight of the human element amid all the spectacular carnage. The mounting paranoia is captured in tight close-ups of increasingly frazzled faces, making us feel the psychological toll of waiting for death to strike. By eschewing a physical villain in favor of an unseen force that weaponizes reality itself, Wong created something far more terrifying than any mass killer could ever be. It's direction that makes you side-eye your surroundings long after the credits roll, wondering if that precariously balanced bookshelf might be part of some grand design to take you out. The cinematography of Final Destination delivers a knockout fucking punch that perfectly balances spectacle with intimate horror. Director of photography Robert McLaughlin crafts a visual language where death feels omnipresent, lurking in every shadow, reflection, and negative space. The camera work isn't just functional, it's practically a character in itself, becoming death's POV as it stalks its victims with cold precision. The airplane explosion sequence is a goddamn marvel of practical effects wizardry. Instead of relying on cheap CGI shortcuts, the crew built a meticulously detailed 10-foot miniature Boeing 747 that had to be launched 40 feet into the air to create a realistic fireball. They filmed it with multiple high-speed cameras running at 120 and 300 frames per second to capture every horrifying detail of the destruction. The result is a sequence that still holds up today, a testament to the power of practical effects over disposable digital trickery. What's particularly impressive is how the film's visual style shifts after Alex's premonition. Before the crash, everything is shot with stable framing and warm, natural lighting. After cheating death, the world becomes visually unstable, with canted angles, desaturated colors, and subtle Dutch tilts creating a perpetual sense of wrongness that mirrors the character's psychological states. The death scenes themselves are shot with an almost pornographic attention to detail. The camera lingers on potential threats, creating unbearable tension before delivering the money shot. Miss Luton's classroom is filmed with threatening low angles that make the space feel oppressive. Todd's bathroom death uses claustrophobic framing and reflective surfaces to disorient viewers. Every shot is meticulously composed to maximize dread before shit hits the fan. The visual effects team deserves massive credit for creating deaths that feel simultaneously outlandish yet sickeningly plausible. The live cast of actors used for the graphic moments have an unsettling realism, while the Rube Goldberg-style chain reactions are shot with documentary-like precision. They created a visual template for elaborate death sequences that countless horror films have attempted to replicate but rarely matched. 20+ years later, the film's visual craftsmanship still impresses precisely because it wasn't trying to be flashy or overly stylized. Instead, it used rock-solid cinematography fundamentals to tell a story where death itself is the cinematographer, framing our lives for maximum impact before the final cut. The crown fucking jewel of Final Destination, and what makes it a goddamn revolution in horror, is its ingeniously choreographed death sequences. These aren't your typical slasher movie stabbings or generic monster attacks. They're elaborate cosmic pranks designed by an invisible force with a sick sense of humor and infinite patience. Miss Luton's kitchen death scene is the absolute pinnacle of this deadly art form. It's a masterclass in tension building that starts with something as innocuous as a cracked mug leaking vodka onto a computer monitor. The ordinary objects in her kitchen transform into co-conspirators in her demise. The leaking vodka, the knife block, the computer, all working in perfect harmony like some twisted symphony of household items gone rogue. What's genius about these sequences is how they manipulate our expectations. The film shows us all the potential threats, then deliberately fucks with us about which one will deliver the killing blow. You think the knife's the danger? Surprise, motherfucker! It's the exploding computer monitor that impales her instead. This misdirection elevates the horror beyond simple jump scares into something truly anxiety-inducing. The Rube Goldberg machine approach to mortality creates a delicious tension between fate and randomness. Each death is simultaneously absurdly complex yet eerily plausible. You laugh at the sheer audacity of these death traps while simultaneously feeling a chill run down your spine because, holy shit, this could actually happen. Most slasher films give you a brief adrenaline rush when the masked killer appears, but Final Destination's death sequences create sustained terror that starts the moment a glass of water spills or a loose screw falls. By the film's midpoint, ordinary objects become loaded with menace. A simple shopping trip becomes a minefield of potential death traps. This powerful reframing of everyday reality is why these sequences stick with you long after the credits roll. The film's most revolutionary achievement is making death itself the villain. Not as a hooded figure with a scythe, but as the architect of these intricate death puzzles. These sequences don't just kill characters, they reveal the universe as a sadistic game designer that will go to absurd lengths to correct the cosmic balance sheet. It's horror that works on both visceral and existential levels, making us jump at the immediate shock while contemplating the terrifying precision of fate. The sound design in Final Destination is the unsung fucking hero of the entire experience. While everyone remembers the gruesome visual spectacle of each death, it's the audio landscape that truly burrows under your skin and sets up camp in your nightmares. Those subtle audio cues that signal death's approach deserve their own goddamn Oscar. The slight whooshing of air, the almost imperceptible whispers, the sudden silences that scream louder than any jump scare. These sonic signatures tell us death is in the room before anything visually tips us off. When Alex starts hearing that ominous rustling sound, you know somebody's about to get royally fucked. The musical score by Shirley Walker is a masterpiece of mounting dread. She'd previously worked on Batman, the animated series, but here she trades superhero grandiosity for something far more insidious, a score that crawls under your skin like a parasite. Those perfectly timed musical stings don't just punctuate the death scenes, they orchestrate them with sadistic precision. But it's the visceral sound effects during the death sequences that really make you squirm in your seat. The stomach-churning squelch when that bus hits Terry, the sickening crack when Todd's neck breaks, the hissing of Miss Luton's kitchen knife. These sounds feel so fucking real that your body physically reacts to them. The sound designers didn't just want you to see these deaths, they wanted you to feel them in your bones. Then there's the brilliant use of 90s soundtrack choices, which deserves its own special mention. John Denver's Rocky Mountain High playing right before a plane explosion is the kind of darkly ironic touch that elevates this film beyond typical teen horror. Remember, Denver himself died in a plane crash. This isn't just background music, it's commentary. The film's use of sound creates this constant tension between normalcy and dread. One moment, you're listening to familiar hallway chatter in a high school. The next, the subtle audio makes shifts just enough to signal that death has entered the chat. This masterful audio deception means we never feel safe, even in seemingly innocent scenes. What's truly brilliant is how the sound design creates a sensory map of death's presence. Through audio alone, we develop a sixth sense for when shit's about to go down, just like Alex and his premonitions. This auditory dimension doesn't just complement the visual horror, it completes it, transforming Final Destination from a film you watch into an experience you survive. Beneath the gore and jump scares, Final Destination offers something few horror films dare to explore. A philosophical rabbit hole about the nature of existence that's as mind-fucking as the death scenes themselves. This isn't just a film about teenagers dying spectacularly. It's a goddamn existential crisis wrapped in popcorn entertainment. The central question looming over every frame is deceptively simple yet profoundly unsettling. Is death inevitable? The film doesn't just suggest that we all die eventually, no shit, Sherlock, but proposes something far more terrifying. That the time, place, and manner of our deaths are predetermined, immutable facts written into the fabric of the universe. That's not just scary, that's fucking terrifying on a cosmic level. Then there's the whole free will versus determinism debate that the film tackles with surprising nuance. Alex and his friends appear to cheat death by getting off the plane, but did they really? Or was their temporary escape just another predetermined step in death's elaborate fucking plan? The film brilliantly suggests that even our attempts to escape fate might be part of fate itself, a closed loop where every act of rebellion was accounted for in advance. What's particularly brilliant is how the film uses its Rube Goldberg death sequences as metaphors for causality. Each elaborately staged demise illustrates how seemingly insignificant events connect in ways we can't possibly comprehend until it's too late. That dripping toilet water that eventually electrocutes Miss Luton isn't just a cool death scene. It's a visual representation of how the universe conspires through invisible connections. The film also raises uncomfortable questions about pattern recognition. When Alex starts seeing the signs of approaching death, is he tapping into some hidden cosmic knowledge, or is he just losing his shit? Is recognizing death's design a form of enlightenment, or just advanced paranoia? The line between profound insight and mental breakdown becomes deliciously blurred. Most slasher flicks are content to give us a maniac with a knife and call it a day, but Final Destination forces us to contemplate our place in an indifferent universe. It suggests that understanding the rules doesn't exempt you from the game, it just makes you more aware of how fucked you truly are. There's something almost Lovecraftian about that realization. Knowledge doesn't save you, it just makes your inevitable end more terrifying. This philosophical undercurrent gives Final Destination a lasting resonance that elevates it above its contemporaries. Long after the shock of seeing someone get hit by a bus wears off, the existential dread lingers. Because while we can avoid getting on doomed flights, we can't escape the ultimate destination that awaits us all. Few horror films can claim to have fundamentally altered the genre's landscape, but Final Destination absolutely fucking did. This movie didn't just launch a successful franchise, it pioneered an entirely new approach to horror storytelling that continues to reverberate through cinema over 2 decades later. Let's be clear about the magnitude of what this film accomplished. It created a villain out of the very concept of death itself. No hockey mask, no burned face, no fucking puppet on a tricycle. Just the invisible, inevitable force of mortality. That's some ballsy, innovative shit right there. 5 sequels later, with diminishing returns as is tradition, the formula remains undeniably effective because the underlying premise is so goddamn brilliant in its simplicity. What's particularly remarkable is how Final Destination influenced our collective anxiety about everyday life. After watching this movie, you'll never look at loose screws, leaky pipes, or precarious objects the same way again. The film trained an entire generation to spot potential Rube Goldberg death traps in ordinary situations. Standing behind a bus? Fuck that. Kitchen knives positioned over drain racks? Hell no. Faulty wiring in your bathroom? Time to move houses, motherfucker. The film's DNA is evident in countless horror movies that followed. Anything featuring elaborate, ironic deaths owes a debt to this pioneer. Yet few have managed to capture the perfect balance of genuine terror, dark humor, and existential dread that made the original so compelling. Many have tried to replicate its success, but most end up as pale imitations, missing the philosophical underpinnings that elevated the original beyond mere shock value. Even outside the horror genre, Final Destination's influence can be felt. Those viral close call compilation videos that populate social media, they tap into the same primal fear this film exploited so effectively. The sense that death is constantly circling, just waiting for the right sequence of events to unfold. The film tapped into something universal and terrifying, the chaotic randomness of mortality coupled with an underlying sense of design. Perhaps the most significant legacy of Final Destination is how it permanently altered our relationship with coincidence. Every near-miss accident now carries the whisper of something more ominous. Every lucky escape feels temporary. The film made us all a little more paranoid, a little more superstitious, and a lot more aware of how quickly and unexpectedly the threads of our lives can unravel. With its innovative premise, technically impressive death sequences, and surprising philosophical depth, Final Destination earns a solid 8 out of 10 stars on the movie Pit scale. This isn't just another forgettable slasher flick. It's a motherfucking milestone in horror that holds up remarkably well over 2 decades later. What makes this film special is how it completely reinvented the rules of horror. There's no killer to defeat, no haunted house to escape from, no demon to exorcise. The antagonist is the universal inevitability we all face, death itself. And that, my friends, is fucking terrifying in ways that no hockey mask psychopath could ever be. The death sequences remain jaw-dropping technical achievements. They're elaborate, suspenseful, and occasionally darkly hilarious. The way ordinary objects conspire to create extraordinary fatalities feels both meticulously planned and chaotically random, just like the universe itself. You'll never look at your kitchen knives, bathroom plumbing, or computer monitors the same way again. Beyond the spectacle, Final Destination offers something rare in the horror genre: actual substance. By exploring fate versus free will, pattern recognition, and our desperate attempts to cheat mortality, the film taps into primal existential questions that resonate on a deeper level than your average teen slasher. Sure, some of the dialogue is pure 90s cheese, and a few plot developments require Olympic-level suspension of disbelief. But these minor flaws don't diminish what the film accomplishes. Its willingness to break conventions and explore existential dread through entertaining set pieces makes it a standout of early 2000s cinema. Final Destination didn't just launch a franchise, it sparked a cultural shift in how we perceive the fragility of existence. Every time you feel paranoid about a precarious object or second-guess boarding a plane, you're experiencing this film's lasting legacy. For creating a horror concept so ingenious it altered our collective relationship with coincidence and mortality, this innovative gem deserves every bit of its 8-star rating. Well, that wraps up our look at Final Destination, a movie that'll make you think twice before boarding a fucking airplane, or standing near a bus or taking a shower, or even pouring a goddamn cup of coffee. Death is everywhere in this twisted little masterpiece, and that's what makes it such a brilliant piece of horror cinema. Even after all these years, I still find myself mapping out the potential Rube Goldberg death traps in my everyday life. That's the lasting power of this shit. It gets under your skin and stays there, making you paranoid about every loose screw and puddle of water. Not many horror films can claim that kind of psychological staying power. While it's not a perfect film by any stretch, its 8 out of 10 rating is well-deserved for sheer originality and execution alone. The way it transformed an invisible concept into such a palpable threat is nothing short of fucking brilliant. There's a reason this spawned an entire franchise. It tapped into something primal that resonates with all of us mortality-challenged meat sacks. If you haven't seen Final Destination yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Go watch it now before some random chain of events leads to your untimely demise. And while you're still breathing, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell for more deep dives into the macabre. This is Dr. Ghoulyula signing off. Remember, it's not if death comes for you, but when, and how creatively it'll do the job. Sweet dreams, boils, and ghouls. And as always, till next time, kiddies.